Hey everybody, welcome back to another 3-Minute Devo. It's great to have you here with me today. Let's jump right in. All right, so we're in Romans chapter 1 still, and today we're going to look at verses 26 through 32, kind of. Or that's the chunk of verses. They're all kind of around the same theme there. I'm going to read though verses 28 and 32 in just a minute. But first, I want to remind you what we talked about last time. We looked at verses 21 through 25, or no, actually 18 through 25, and we talked about the idea that man has, in his unrighteousness, suppressed truth and rebelled against God to set himself up as his own God, defining our own truth and following our own passions and desires. Okay, that's what it means when it says that we've suppressed truth and we have we've worshipped the creation rather than the creator. All right, and so because of that, it says, and this is verse 28, and since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. And then Paul goes through and he lists some things. They're full of envy and murder and strife, and they're gossips, they're slanderers, they hate God. And then in verse 32, he says, though they know God's righteous decree that those who practice such things deserve to die, they not only do them, but they give approval to those who practice them. Now, this is a hard passage. I mean, Paul's not pulling any punches here, right? He says they know God's righteous decree that those who do these things deserve to die. Now, when we hear sentences like that, our senses just, I don't know, it's hard. It's hard to hear. Like, why would I talk about anybody deserving to die? I don't want to think about that. I don't want to talk like that. But what we see all throughout the Bible is that when we live according to decrees, when we live opposite according to the decrees of God, does that make sense? When we don't follow God's decrees, there we go, that's an easier way of saying it. When we don't follow God's decrees for our life, when we do things that we know we ought not do, it's not so much about deserving to die, it's that when we voluntarily remove ourselves from the righteousness of God, we place ourselves out of the life that comes from God and into death and deceit that comes from the enemy. When we believe the lies of Satan that we should set ourselves up as God and we live according to those lies, it's not that God says, I condemn you. It's that we have removed ourselves from life. It's like we voluntarily are just holding our breath to the point of death. And all we have to do is start breathing. But it says in this passage, and if this doesn't describe our world right now, I don't know what does. He says, though they know that of God's righteous decrees, it says, then at the end of that sentence, it says, they not only do them, even though they know they're wrong, they not only do them, but they give approval to those who practice them. This is why we see people cheering on awful things. Things that all of us have this sense, like, I know it's our conscience, it's the Holy Spirit speaking to each of us. I know this is wrong. It's that human nature that C.S. Lewis talks about, that we all have this idea, this understanding of a moral compass built into us because of the character of God that is in us, because of the image of God that is in us. And all of us have this innate ability to say, I know this is wrong, but we see our society cheering things on that we know are against the decrees of God. And in fact, it's not enough. Even like the church is demanded. We're being told if we can't just accept sin, we have to cheer it on. And if we don't cheer it on, that's not enough. It's not enough just to say, well, you do you. This is what the Bible has been talking about for the last 2,000 years. They not only do them, but they give approval to those who practice them. So when you remove yourself from the truth, when you remove yourself from the righteousness of God, the logical and natural outcome is the wrath of God revealed on that unrighteousness. I know that's hard, but it's just a matter of truth. And remember that truth isn't based on what I want it to be. It's based on the character and purpose of God. Whew. Thanks so much for joining us for another 3-Minute Devo. We'll see you next time.